Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ETF2L Season 41. We've got Week 5. My name is Wandum. We've got Das liest is doof. I'm not German. Versus Death and Destruction. Once again, my name is Wandum. I said that already. We've got ondkaja here, a hero on production. And I've got Eemes joining me. We're still trying to track down an STV. We're going to get it fixed eventually, you know.
We are on a journey, and it ends with a fantastic TF2 game for you tonight. And apparently we have the server, so that's excellent. I'm going to start joining that right now.
Not actually confident if it's the correct one. Maybe I'll try. We'll figure it out. Eventually we'll find a server. I think in the meantime, probably talk a little bit about both teams. You know, we've got the Germans. We're going to call them the Germans because the other name is very long, strange, and I can't pronounce it. So, you know, I mean, on the German side, we've got some players. We've got Voxy and Stefan on Scout, of course, both pretty tenured at this point. We've got Fishkoff on Roma, I'm pretty sure, and then Apti on Pocket. Apti, a little bit of a newer name, one rookie of the season last season, or the season before that. Sort of lower level, trying to punch up pretty good. We've got Philip on Demoman, and then we've got June on Medic. Overall, some newer names, honestly. Looking at this roster, it doesn't seem to be a lot of tenured players. There's some, not many.
Yeah, I think Voxy definitely the most experienced one there. The soldiers, Fishkoff and Amty, you know, a decent amount of experience between them. Amty kind of newer, but they've both been hanging around Prem for a decent while. I think Voxy definitely is the key player for the team. You know, much more experienced than any of them. One of the, you know, there are some very good pocket scouts this season, but he's still up there in contention to be at the top. But yeah, for the other team, we have Death and Destruction, and so it's Ixie, Flank Scout, Flick, Pocket Scout. Jeevan is, I think, main calling from Pocket. Mathis, Roma, Dagger on Demo, and George on Med. So these guys have been playing together well, on and off, in different kinds of rosters for a while. This is the latest iteration. They are probably, you know, they're kind of DM heavy players, a bit puggy players. They like to play that kind of style. So the question is, it's whether they'll be able to, you know, have a strong enough structure to beat out the Germans, who probably are less. That's less their forte. Although Voxy does have a lot of good DM, but they will be more looking to keep their med alive.
It's an interesting setup, right? Because Jorge, I think for a while now, he's been one of the better Prem medics, but he's just kind of, I don't want to say held back by his team, but he has moments where things just kind of go very wrong for him, and it makes watching him really weird. I feel like most of the time when I watch Jorge play the game, he's really quite good, and then randomly something will happen, and he won't be good anymore, and it'll be really weird, and it's scary. It's almost like a European skis, but a little bit like less chaotic. So
yeah, I mean George, I'm going to be calling him George. I'm showing my Anglo, you know, philia. But anyway, the point about him is that either, you know, he's going to play pretty cleanly, pretty safely, but if he's going to make a mistake, it's going to be a spectacular one. It's a bit like Ombrak as well, actually. You know, plays seemingly fairly consistently, but then sometimes it's just like something terrible happens. So the other thing about George is that he's always late to scrims. So if you hear me giving him a harsher time than I might another player, then that's probably why.
Yeah, I mean, showing up to scrims on time is something that happens in the lower divisions. I feel like as soon as you reach above the middle division, playing your scrims anything less than 10 minutes after when you scheduled them to start never happens. Especially on Prem. This game was supposed to start 15 minutes ago, and we don't have a server with both teams on it yet. I think they're fighting, I assume, about which server they're on at the moment. Found one STV with 6 people on one team and 5 people on the other. So it's probably a war right now.
I'm going to check the other STV. I dare say the Germans want to play on a German server, and I don't really know where would be best for Death and Destruction. Maybe France, maybe something else. Probably Dagger has bad ping somewhere. Is my most likely explanation, but you know, they're getting it sorted out. But as we wait for this, what are your thoughts about this game, Wandum? Maybe the interviewer for once.
I'm not really sure. I know that I've seen that Cadus seems to really like the Germans and the way they play the game. As you said, it's a little bit of an interesting clash in styles. I'm not sure how to rate them because if you look at the teams that the Germans have played against, it's Witness Gaming, Backyard Bullies that are firmly in like contention for being the top two, and then Yak's team, which they beat. But then Yak's team doesn't exist anymore. They 3-0'd them on product, which makes sense. The scouts are pretty good. And then on Snakewater, it was a lot closer. I think this is the real sort of litmus test for the Germans. If they can overcome Death and Destruction, they should be looking to sort of clinch the sort of third, fourth place playoff spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very annoying for the Germans, really, because they had a really, really big 6-0 win against Yak's team, which is probably part of the reason why Yak folded. But, now they get no points for that. So, at least they will carry on with some confidence from that. They are currently, I think, on 0 points because of that. So they played the two top teams, Witness Gaming now Witness Gaming and Backyard Bullies, and then they won against Yak's team, who dropped. So they're currently on 0. So they've got a big mountain to climb, nothing to show for their efforts, but they probably have some good team cohesion going into it. And, they're feeling good. They really did make, especially on product, they kind of made Yak's team, Stevie Wonder's Eemes School, look a bit silly. Who basically what happened in that game, they sacked continuously for June. I think Yak went something like 20 deaths to 5 kills, and all he did all game was bomb the med, and June died 4 times. So that was an interesting game.
Yeah, it's wasn't too pretty. But I'm a little bit curious. Also, Death and Destruction, because I feel like when I look at the players in Death and Destruction, I feel like these guys should be good, but at least like for most of them, honestly, I feel like they continuously kind of under-deliver. We saw a very similar team last season, and I expected them honestly to be top 4, and they like barely made it there after a couple teams dropped, I'm pretty sure, or they just like didn't even make it.
No. Last season was 8th place Dagger.
Oh, that is true, yeah.
So yes, these are, as I mentioned, they've been playing together on and off for a long time, but often they do have a habit of folding halfway through seasons. So it's one of those, this is sort of the nature of these kind of pug teams a lot. They maybe don't have that much cohesion. They start blaming people for losing. I think last season it was George they thought was was it George or was someone else? They had someone on med anyway who they were blaming constantly for throwing, and then they used that as kind of cope for playing badly, and then they folded. So that's a nice history of Death and Destruction. But this season, they seem to be staying together.
I mean, it's definitely improvement, right? They haven't lost a game so far after the fact that the Yak game has been erased from history. They lost 2 maps in a row there. They lost 6 points, but thankfully for them, that's just been completely annulled. But then you look at the other teams they played, right? They beat Forskings, they beat Wandum. But the Wandum game is surprisingly close. Like, very close on both maps. They dropped a golden cap on Snakewater and 3-2 on product. It's not been the easiest of roads so far. I would put Wandum at the bottom of the table, and if you're struggling that much against Wandum, I would be a little bit scared for coming up against a team like the Germans. Yeah,
definitely. And at this level of Prem, especially with newer teams, there's really a lot of variance really in terms of in each map. It could go down to just a few plays, are their mids working, are they not? Did they convert that last push? It's not going to be a clean 5-0 for either team by any means. So this is, this is a very interesting TF2 to be watching, seeing which style really wins out.
I'm curious as well. We're seeing Ixie snipe a little bit in the pregame. I don't think so. The first map we're playing today is Granary, which, I mean, it kind of lends itself to sniper a little bit when you're trying to get into last, or maybe sniping from last. But besides that, it's not a very sniper-friendly map. I think we go a little bit further to the second map, go into Snakewater. Again, I get a little bit scared for the sniper, because Snakewater has some interesting angles, especially going into second. Sniper can be a little bit dangerous. I look at Death and Destruction side, I see Ixie sniping, and that makes sense in my brain, but then I look across the board, and I'm not honestly sure there's anyone on the Germans to really pick up the off-classing mantle, per se.
Yeah, not particularly. I don't think Alos is known for his off-classing very much. Voxy, you really don't want Voxy to be off-classing because he's their most important player. It's going to hamper them, I think, not with the fact that it's Granary, basically, because there's really not a good map for Pocket Scout overall. Next is Sunshine, not Snakewater, by the way. This is week 4 or 5 now. So, but that will very much favour Voxy. So I think in terms of the maps, this is definitely, looking a lot stronger for Death and Destruction, just simply off of that fact.
Yeah, in my head, Granary and Sunshine are kind of similarly paced maps where it's really easy to win a mid-fight or to lose a mid-fight rather and still hold last, where in last is kind of difficult to push. Granary's a little bit different. You have to really commit in the beginning, take a lot of space pretty much as soon as you start. Whereas Sunshine last is so notoriously difficult to push. And that, again, makes me really worried for these sort of lesser experienced teams because there's so much that has to go right on a map like Sunshine when you're pushing that last point. It makes me scared that we might sit here forever.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're both difficult last pushes. Certainly some of the most difficult ones in the game. Granary kind of depends on how well you do early in the Uber. If you catch people in, it can go very, very swimmingly for you very quickly. But often, it just depends on whether you get that, whether the defending team can kite effectively or like out deep into one side of the map and not lose too many players, keep control of the high ground. But as I say that, we are heading towards our first mid-fight, and we're going live.
Yeah, we are live indeed. Once again, it's ETF2L week 5 of season 41. We've got the Germans, I'm not pronouncing that name again, versus Death and Destruction. So we are rolling out slowly. Dagger almost cratered. I got really scared there for a second because he was 18 HP and he almost just hit the floor and died. But there we go. We're on mid, and actually Philip is just dead. And I don't want to pronounce this mid over, but the Germans are on second already.
I will do it for you, Wandum. This mid is over. The Germans are chilling. Philip kind of very, very riskily going top, but not being very fast. If you want to go top, you have to hit all of your jumps and get there before the enemy demo. Otherwise, you're going to get punished very hard. And Dagger, going choke, which is actually faster if you completely miss all of the packs. That's what he did. He pulled him out. And now, rather a weak hold on second here. They tried to hold doors, but they didn't have a demo, so now they're inside. One down on Fishkoff, and Death and Destruction already taking this game by the reins and seeing what they can get done, with Jeevan heading in for a sack but not getting too much. In fact, and Dagger will go down, so this was a bit over eager from him, and probably should have just been spamming from Shutter there. Now they're going to be heading back to mid. Yeah,
that demo kill at the Dagger is so huge for the Germans. It allows them to push forwards. There's so much less area denial. Those stickies gone means that the Germans they're walking through choke already. It's a little bit difficult. They have to watch out because you can take a lot of damage when you're stuffed into this corner here. Single soldier bomb from Mathis is not going to do that much. The high bombs are just kind of exchanged, looking at the other team, not really willing to engage, but the Germans are right back out there. Spam onto that choke point is nasty.
Yeah, very tentative there from the Germans. They had a lot of space to play with, no sticks up. Both solids very, very passive. They could have taken a lot more room, but they recognized that spawners were coming in for Death and Destruction. Dagger just rolling out through the ramp area there, and decided to head back. They could have set up a sack there. They could have taken some more space, but they're playing pretty conservatively here. They recognize they don't really want to take too many scrappy EDM fights at this time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that makes sense. If we are sort of pinning Death and Destruction as sort of being the superior 1v1 DM players, then maybe, yeah, you probably wouldn't want to take a scrappy fight. Granary middle is also just one of those where there's so much room you have to take. The scouts are so scary once they get on high ground. It's so difficult to get in. I think they probably could have committed, at least a little bit, because now we're in a situation here in Yard, right, where nothing's really going to happen for either team unless someone just kind of overextends. And I'm looking around, wondering who it's going to be, but, is either team really incentivized to actually push it? It feels hard to break.
Probably not to push. I expect we will see a sack from maybe Jeevan. I'm going to call he'll do the skip jump through ramp onto Juno. The Juno is very, very passive here, so this could be quite difficult for her to get onto her. And he's in fact and getting one rocket onto Juno. Yep. But that's what it was. It was a solo sack.
Yep, that was 50 damage onto a medic in front of 2 scouts, which means that you don't get to play the game as Soldier. Jeevan pretty much had to nail 2 rockets. It's a kill onto the Soldier, though, which means there is some aggression here into Garage. A little bit of height taken onto the staircase, but so far no real sacks coming out of the Germans. The demo spam is doing a lot to sort of hold them back. Not willing to engage. So this player advantage that they had, they're just going to kind of forego it. Go back to second, not willing, once again, to really push it. Not sure if I like just going into Garage there.
Yeah, the Germans perhaps betraying their lack of confidence here a little. They've had 2 opportunities, well, maybe half chances to do something, but certainly they had a pick there. They could have taken some room on mid, and they're doing very, very little. As Empty does go down, holding this choke, Purely alone, the 2 players actually, Mathis is in, really nice rocket on the June, but do a huge serve out to the shutter there. Really nicely played, and in fact, they're going to be able to hold this Death and Destruction could have done a lot more with that pick, but instead they're just sending a solo sack, and we're back to a reset.
It looked really good, but that surf out of June was really, really nice there, managing to dodge it around. So, paused. But you can see right now the Germans kind of posturing up towards choke again. This soldier pick means that they want to go forwards, but also you look across, look at Jeevan's HP. Not only is he 90 HP, he's on a banner as well, which means he's counting on this stalemate, surviving for a little bit longer. It is a lot of damage on, because Jeevan is so weak as well. It's only 100 HP, and because he's on the banner, he's going to take like 50 damage from rocket jumping here. He can't put down that much spam. He's on the ground for now, but it's essentially, it's not entirely 2 soldier picks, but it's like 1.5 soldier kills. If you're going to go in, it's probably now. But, I mean, you look at the blue soldiers. Look at where Empty is. He's in spawn, and then the opposing soldier as well is, Fishkoff is just in garage. He's not really able to jump in quite yet. I mean, they can probably get in somewhat because there's decent damage, but it doesn't look too nice. There's 2 red scouts on like high ground here.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not too much Philip and Voxy can do here. They have to really, if they wanted to get anything done, they have to basically just win a DM fight with Dagger straight up. But what they're really looking to do is just bait a lot of attention, maybe get some damage onto the med and let someone sack. But the thing is, Fish is weak and Amty's rolling out, so they're really going to be doing, they've got nothing they can do in this choke here. They can walk in, they can spam, and then they're going to have to leave, just like they did last time. And I mean, part of the problem, to be honest, is that Philip is going very early, but he's got nothing to do here. He needs to let Fishcock get healed so that he can sack. But at the moment, they're putting heals on players who are never going to be doing anything. They're going to poke in. This is my prediction. When they're going to poke in, they're going to look up, and then they're going to leave, and that's all.
Probably. Do you know who main calls for the Germans?
I'm pretty sure it's Foxy.
Okay, yeah, because I would imagine, I know that Philip can be a very vocal player, at least from what I've sort of seen of him in the past. Wondering if it's a little bit of sort of main caller syndrome where the medic just kind of clings to the combo, and then unfortunately the combo goes one direction. That's the people that are calling, telling you where to go. Just going to kind of follow along, and at least Fifth Cough with 150 HP in garage.
Yep.
I mean, there's a little bit of an angle, right? Like, in theory, if he goes right now, nobody's looking at him. They're all staring at Choke. But I'm getting a message from German Insider that apparently June is suffering from internet issues.
Oh dear.
Which means that there might have to be a replacement, maybe?
Who would that be?
They're trying to figure it out, I assume. It's a solution in the future.
Maybe Lolly or maybe Menti are the only German medics I can think of. Both of whom...
Condorg, actually, maybe.
That's true. Yeah, he probably could play in the German team, that's right.
I mean, he definitely does partake in the German mixes, so
yeah,
could show up, play some medic as well. I'm not sure. I mean, at this point, right? I mean, if June's internet is bad enough where June can't play, then they're going to have to sort of find a replacement, and that involves getting the opposing team to sort of accept the merc, and I think we've all been in a situation before where one team is not cooperative with the mercs that are suggested.
I feel like surely they will be. I mean, they're not going to be getting a huge upgrade either way, and it's only a med, but I guess they could be. It's more of a, it's more of a French team trait to deny mercs anyway, which has happened to me many times recently. But, there you go. But as, talking with Frenchies and Germans, although Copenhagen has been cancelled, the LAN in your country, Wandum.
Yes.
There are nevertheless 2 LANs coming up. One is in Lyon, in France, and the other one, I actually don't know where it is in Germany, but it's
somewhere in Germany. Yes.
So that's pretty exciting.
Yes. I'm not. There aren't any posts about them on TFTV, are there? It's mostly just like organized by the community themselves. Obviously, Europe now has a bunch of different national sort of pickup communities that has nationalized TF2 in a lot of ways, where they aren't broadly advertised, but there are definitely lands coming. I don't think any of the top teams are going. I think it's literally just German people and French people, but
Well, I'm going Wandum.
Of course you are. Of course you are. You're friends with all the Frenchies anyway.
I'm an honorary Frenchie, so we'll be playing in some kind of mix there. It should be fun.
That's exciting. I can imagine it's fun. Lyon's a very cool city. I've enjoyed my time in Lyon when I've been there in the past.
I haven't been, but it looks nice. So it should be good.
There's very good food in Lyon. You should, if you have time.
Yeah, I'll probably be getting the pizza delivered to my desk kind of thing.
Hell yeah. That's a LAN experience. So the first time I've ever experienced something like that in my life is a nice series where you could just literally get food delivered to your desk while you're playing the game.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, just don't get too used to it, you know.
No. Yeah, you can get. It's the only time in my life I've ever seen someone have pizza and alcohol delivered to them to their desk while they were playing a game.
It's actually incredible.
I have a fond memory of having to pause the game at I-61 because my Roma had a pizza delivered to him. So he sat there and waited for 10 minutes while he ate his pizza. And then we got back to playing the game.
That's funny.
So, good times.
It is a bit sad in a way because, we used to have PogChamp. And PogChamp, everyone played PogChamp.
Everyone played PogChamp.
Everyone played PogChamp. And it didn't matter if you were French, German, English, or anything else, you would be on there. And you would have... sometimes, you'd have like 2 games running at once, everybody going, top players and lesser, and middies, all getting along together, and you'd have some pretty good pugs when people were interested. But now, much less so, and it's sort of, the communities that have big enough kind of reserves of lower players, like the French or the Germans, they're kind of okay, but it's a bit. What do you think about that, Wandum?
It's a hard life. I want to give a massive shout out to Ramixes for saving my pugging dreams. I do know they have high pugs running. I am not good enough to partake in them, but from what I've seen, they are sort of at least somewhat of a replacement for PogChamp. For sort of higher level Division 1 and above players. I partake in the FFA mixes from time to time, because unfortunately the Danish community is not big enough to support a sort of a consistent mixing group. But so I guess in that case, as an underrepresented nation in TF2 that is not French or German, it's hard. And there have been multiple times in my life, in the past months, where I've sort of considered just kind of learning enough German to be able to play the German mixes. Because they seem fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it is unfortunate. I think you're selling yourself short, Wandum. I think you can make it in the high bucks. I've seen your frag videos.
I tried to apply when Ramed let you do that, but now it's been strictly, the rules are very strict. You are either a Division 2 finalist, or I think it's a Division 2 finalist as medic, or you are Div 1 player. So unfortunately, my current mid adventures are not enough for me to break that barrier.
Ramed laying down the law.
He is, yeah. Thankfully, FFA pugs are fun. If you are literally any division, honestly, as long as you play in ETF2L, FFA pugs are there for you, and they're fun, and they're better than TF2 Center because you have cons. They're good. They're a good time. I enjoy them, honestly. I found, at least me personally, I've reached a point in my life where FFA pugs, or at least PogChamp, got a little bit too sweaty, and I enjoy relaxing. You know what I do when I play FFA pugs sometimes, Eemes, is I laugh. I have fun. It's insane.
Surely not.
No.
Yeah. I think that was definitely part of the problem with PogChamp. Is it got a bit too sweaty. It got a bit too I don't mind people trying hard, but it got a bit mean-spirited sometimes. Like, oh yeah, this player just completely, messed up, got destroyed so bad. Oh, we owned you. And it's, it's not the most fun environment when everyone just sort of is desperate to hit a shot on one player and come into mumble in the next, afterwards and, start saying mean things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent change of pace. I honestly, as personally, I prefer it because I'm sort of in this weird middle ground where I'm not exactly I'm not bad enough to enjoy playing TF2 Center, but I'm also not good enough to really be in the high mixes. And so you're sort of in this middle barrier where Ramix has honestly filled that space for me very nicely, and I enjoy it more than sitting through PogChamp and being the one guy left out a lot of the time, which has happened to me before. Where sort of you add to PogChamp and you get to play once every third hour when you finally get picked. It's a little bit nicer.
And speaking of filling spaces nicely, do we have any idea who is going to be filling this particular medic-shaped hole?
Absolutely not.
Any more contacts from your...
My German contact called Eemes only told me that June might be leaving because of internet problems, and then has refused to elaborate. So that's unfortunate. Shoutouts to Eemes, by the way. Eemes has been a trooper recently. He booked tickets for Copenhagen Games before we. Oh, never mind. We're not. Ignis, we're gonna have to share it some other time because we finally unforced. There is a sack going in. It is Fishkov. Jorge actually down all the way to 50 HP. He's gonna walk onto the pack, and so they traded one soldier. Now, it's going to be a red team walking into garage here, but Mathis is already dead, so they're just gonna walk right back out. So the sack happened. Everything's fine. We're playing TF2.
Yeah, they're prodding back in, but probably going to leave again, I expect. Alos trying to make a huge pick onto Dagger there with the help of some spam from someone at least, and Voxy taking a lot of space on the point. Going to take a trade. You're going to get forced a little bit earlier, but Ixie hasn't. They actually have killed Ixie and Eemes been forced, so it's really, really nice by Voxy. He's kind of clutching that one out, making a lot of room for his team, even though he will go down, and they could be winning out this fight. But June, solid onto June, and in fact, none of them commit. Voxy gets completely baited with all that space that he made, and Germans just getting crushed here. They didn't want to follow their main caller into the fight there, and in fact, they just completely, couldn't follow up on what he did.
I'm pretty sure that's why they sort of paused, because June was walking in with Voxy and then unfortunately just kind of teleported in the other direction, end up in the complete opposite side of mid. They got the force in the end, but it's still, look at them, they're all still down, right? There's 50% advantage here for Jorge, so they're already walking in. It's decent damage. They're trying to build a sentry gun as Vox tech, but it's just not enough. Once again, Blue Medic just AFK as there's so much cap time, but they actually haven't standing on it quite yet. There we go, never mind. Managed to get the cap. It's one round now for Death and Destruction, but I'm pretty sure, I don't want to say that's entirely the medic's fault for sort of disconnecting, but it definitely didn't help. June is back on the server. It seems to be okay. Maybe we hope and we pray. Internet restart was all that was necessary.
Yeah, well, June did seem to time out on that last push as well, so that may have contributed to it. I think Germans are going to be feeling pretty hard done by about that round, I expect.
Thankfully, there's still 24 minutes to play for, so it shouldn't be too bad. We're on middle once again. It's a very early soldier bomb here coming out of Jevin and Mathis. They're doing decent damage, but they're both just going to go down. It's so much damage onto the red side, but now without soldiers on the blue team with Philip just being dead, Fishkov as well, it means that Death and Destruction, they take this. Jorge went all the way down to 20 HP, but he did not die.
Yeah, just more space there made by the soldiers from Death and Destruction. As well, are they going to be holding yard? Fishkov is not holding close at all. They've led them all the way into right side. Now they want to take a bit of a trade, but they're going to get out-spammed very easily. This was very, very indecisive from the German team, as the Eemes will be traded now. Flick is going to be chasing deep into the point, but in fact they could get really caught out here as Duke will die. No. They're caught in two minds, the Germans. They're going to be contesting this fight now, but they have no med. All the Death and Destruction need to do is just leave.
Yeah, they just kind of have to get some kills here. Honestly, they're trying to go for Jorge, but they're only 3 up at this point. They managed to find a frag onto Jorge, but it's a trade kill by Jevin onto Aedalos, and with Ampty going down to Flick as well. It's just 2 players left alive. Fishkov 31 HP. It's going to be June up. Try to hold last. I don't think they can bust. There's a heavy up now on last as well. Yeah, it was very scrappy.
Should have been an easy round there for Death and Destruction, really, but they let George die right at the end of that fight. Flick and him getting just completely disconnected. That's Spun Bob, the 99, for anyone who's wondering who I'm calling Flick. But yeah, it was very, very dominant from Death and Destruction, but just not able to sort of cleanly finish out the fight.
Now it's an Uber advantage as well here for June, going to be building it up. It's only about 20%. When you're holding Granary last, the Uber, I say it's an Uber ad, but that's because I want to talk about the percentages. There's not really that much of a difference here. Going to be honest, you're not going to be pushing out a Granary last on 20%, but they do have it by the time the Death and Destruction will have the Uber as well. You can see Jorge now about 90. Spy out of Fox Tech though.
Oh my god. Philip taking a spam fight with a soldier and window and going down to 1 HP there, but just about living, so that could have been disastrous. But Dagger will get a nice pick onto Fishkov that could open things up here, especially as Math is going to head straight in. Nice shot, June with a huge surf, but it does pop to this Ixie that was just in there completely unseen. It's a really, really nice double sack by the flank to get that force.
Yeah, now they have the 100% Uber charge. You can see they're just waiting. They're not trying to push quite yet because they're 2 players down. Germans getting aggressive. They want to get this force out, but they just haven't been able to get onto the point. There we go. Finally edging on top of this point. If they can make Jorge use into second instead of last, it's going to be such a big deal for them. They don't want to pop here. There's so much spam onto the point. Death and Destruction, they can't want to cross the soldier behind.
2 huge rockets, but they're only onto the soldier. Hits George once, but it's just not enough. So Amty going for the last-ditch play there, but it's not going to happen. And now a solid advantage for them. The Death and Destruction heading into last now.
It's about 50% for June. It's just not going to be enough. There's a banner in the works as well. Don't think he quite has it. There's a lot of damage early on. This is kill onto the sentry gun. Flick is taken down, however. It's a little bit of a weakness. But there we go. Flick taken down. Philip now means that there's just a dead Mathis. The soldiers on high ground, they just submarine into the enemy team. But if you don't take the high ground, the enemy soldiers can just kill you.
Yeah, they really gave up a lot of positioning there. They did eventually get Philip down, but Dagger used so much of his ammo just locking the heavy into spawn and not actually killing anyone that it was sort of petered out at the end. And now, the Germans heading in through the right yard. In fact, they can take this to mid, and they've got a chance to get back into this round.
They have to take it in now. It's only about 30% advantage at this point. You can see they're building this quite heavily for Jorge's side. They're edging towards the garage area. They have to watch out for too much spam because there we go. June down to 50 HP already means that the rest of Death and Destruction are going to run back out into their own garage. They do get forced themselves, and there's a lot of terrible positioning here out of the Germans because Dagger just flies in, immediately finds a kill onto June. It's Voxtech going down as well. Now with 2 kills for Death and Destruction, they're just walking forwards. Philip, Adelos, Fishkov down as well. It's just Ampty. He's all the way back on last. Has nothing to do with second anymore.
Yeah, very, very cleanly played there by Death and Destruction, just recognizing that June was going to be caught in after that Uber. And, I think the Germans maybe thought they had a bigger ad going into mid, but they really overextended, got absolutely nothing. Didn't even really get positioning with the Uber or already damaged. So, George was just free to pop straight back in, Dagger killing the med, and the rest of them just getting completely cleaned up. So, an overextension there from the Germans on mid.
I am being informed by my German colleague that apparently it's not actually June. My nickname config is weird, and it's actually Ray playing the game. Probably due to the pause. It's actually the blue medic is Ray subbing in for June, who did have internet issues. So Ray subbing in instead. We're back on mid here. There's a very early soldier bombs for both teams, actually. There's a lot of damage, but it's Fishkov going down pretty much immediately. And the damage onto the Germans means that they have no ground at all on mid. No crate positioning in the slightest means that the Flick and Ixie can just walk across. Dagger flies in as well. Unfortunately, bumps his head a little bit onto the hut, which means that Ray's trying to get out here. There's a lot of damage, but there we go. Ray gets taken down. And it's just Fishkov left alive. He's on at last. Cannot really go for much here.
Yeah, just no high ground at all from the Germans there on mid. They couldn't really get out of their own choke. Both of the Sollies going very, very aggressive, pretty early on from Death and Destruction, and Philip pretty isolated on his own, not really denying the scouts off the height. So it was very, very easy for Death and Destruction and Dagger to walk straight over point and really opening up the mid and putting the hurt on the Germans. 2-0 down already.
There's a heavy up and a sentry gun here for the German side. This is pretty much a standard granary cast, or granary game rather, at the moment. The level 3 gun, the heavy on top of the pipe, and this is honestly really difficult to break. You can see the Uber comes out immediately, kill onto Voxtech, and the sentry gun gets taken down. It's kill onto Mathis, but it's just so much point pressure here. The high ground for Death and Destruction means that the Germans are forced into a corner. Single soldier in Ampty left alive, but he's 30 HP, and it's another relatively clean round there for Death and Destruction.
Yeah, the soldiers really not able to hold much ground. I mean, I think one Ampty maybe got a trade onto Mathis early on, but they completely gave up the pipes just as they had on mid, really. And the Germans kind of getting bullied right now by the superior soldier aggression from Death and Destruction.
Very nice stuff out of them, honestly. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. Mathis has also been one of these players that's been around he's never been top prem, but it feels like he's been right below that for so long. He has very, very nice frag videos. He keeps deleting on his YouTube channel. I want to see more from him. So he's actually jumping in right now. The soldier bombs are so coordinated, and Chiva destroys Ray. Adelos goes down as well to kill onto Jorge in the meantime, but with just 2 players alive, Ampty and Philip both getting taken down. Oh, I say that. Ampty. There we go. Gets taken down by Jevin. Jevin destroys them on mid.
Yeah, and you can see these soldiers from the Death and Destruction just have such an earlier bomb on mid, both going from opposite sides, landing straight onto where all of the Germans are lobbed up, killing Adelos and the med instantly, and just this aggression is far too much for them to deal with. They did manage to take out George late in the fight, but with the scouts going down, with so much space for Dagger in particular to walk across because of the soldiers, it's just always a very, very advantageous mid for Death and Destruction.
it's not the end of the world right now, as it is sort of even Ubers. I mean, Death and Destruction, they're not on 2 seconds. That kill onto Jorge was really, really big. But at this point, we are on Granary. You have to start paying attention to the timer. They're 3-0 down, and the Germans, 16 minutes left. Sure, it's still time, but it's nowhere near the amount of time that they would like to have. Trying to climb back from a 3-0. We've seen worse happen. We have an infamous incident in TF2 Pass where a team was 4-0 up. We're not going to mention any names. If you know, you know. It is very much possible in Granary, but they have to start climbing back on, honestly, rather sooner rather than later, right? They have to find some sort of momentum swing. Did have a little bit of an advantage. They didn't push off of it. Just holding mid is Death and Destruction. And last time we were in this situation, Germans just didn't have an answer.
Yeah, well, last time we had a very, very long pause, to be fair, but well, that was for us at least. But yeah, I think the problem for the Germans right now is that early in the game, it did 0-0. They weren't really wanting to take many opportunities anyway. I think they had one sack play, but it wasn't very coordinated. It wasn't very, they weren't really trying to do it very decisively. And now that they really have to do something, they don't really have any. They don't look like they're very confident in doing it. So yeah, it's difficult for them. They seem to be. Or still reeling from these mids, from the loss of their medic, and from being 3-0 down generally. They don't really know what to do with themselves.
Can be pretty hard. The medic is such a central class when you're not playing with your main. I mean, obviously, Ray's pretty good on medic just as well as June is, but I mean, it is a little bit of a difference. If you're not used to playing with Ray, it can be really hard for them to sort of fit in team synergy. It might be reeling a little bit from it. It can be hard to recover. Hopefully, it shouldn't be too bad. I mean, we mentioned it before. Germans, they play mixes with each other all the time. Surely they're not too afraid of playing with the Ray.
Yeah, you gotta think so. I don't know if June does a lot of cooling. I probably assume not. I think it's mostly Voxy, so it shouldn't be too much of an impact. But at the moment, it's more their stalemate-making ability, which has nothing really to do with the medic. But they need to start having some ideas. As Voxy does go down, the question is: do Death and Destruction want to make some room of that, or do they just want to burn the clock right now, which they could very easily do?
You can see they're getting a little bit aggressive. It's a sack in from Mathis on to the demo man. Doesn't really find anything. Apti's going to try to respond. Does decent damage in Garage, but unfortunately it's just not enough. He hit 2 nice rockets, but the health only dropped to about 100. They're trying to aggress here. The Germans with a lot of damage onto Dagger. He has to be careful. Not really that much return damage, but I mean, I honestly expected there with Mathis going down that maybe we'd see some sort of an off class. But you have to remember once again, Steven is back on this battalion's backup. They are running down the clock with the spam, but Dagger just gets taken down though.
Yeah, Voxy with some really nice aggression there, picking up the demo who had been taunting and gets gets his comeuppance for that, putting some landing faces in chat. So they're really trying to get under the skin of the Germans right now. But can the Germans actually call their bluff and take make some room out of this? At the moment, Philip is not really doing very much of this demo pick, and they kind of look a little bit tentative again. So this was a good chance to make something happen, really, but nothing doing here.
I mean, Voxy kind of went down at the same time. Maybe just lacking the calls from Voxy was enough to sort of scare them away, lead them to a little bit more indecisiveness. I have to wonder. Jeevan popped his banner, but there we go, he switches back. So now, there we go, the banner is used. Doesn't seem like they're pushing with it that much either. They're just kind of sitting around. The Germans getting a little bit passive here. Afraid of the banner, but both teams just setting up on mid.
So this was a rather strange defensive banner as the Germans do bust through choke really, really aggressively here. Ray does get forced much earlier Uber as they do have some space. They will take out Jeevan, so this could be alright for them if they can get the force easily, but Fishkoff is just going to leave. In fact, they're all going to back out, just not committing to this fight at all. It's kind of an odd one. They now are down players, and Voxy wants to get back in, but none of his team is following him up. They needed to just recognize that they had a pick there. They had some positioning. The Death and Destruction would have had an Uber, but they would have been kiteable pretty easily with that pick. But instead, they're just losing all of the space that they made, and now they're back in their second.
Aggression now into Garage from Death and Destruction. They're walking forwards onto Yard. A bit difficult so far. There's damage dealt to Fishkoff. Has to retreat. Gets a single kill into Flick. He's actually doing a lot of damage. Gets the kill into Dagger. That's absolutely massive. Gets taken down by Mathis in the end, but it's Amty finding the cleanup kill. Now it's 3 dead on the flank here. They're rotating over towards Zed, but the sticky bombs, they don't even get the medic. They get Ixie instead, but Furio Ray gets taken down as my nickname config's finally caught up with me. But with Philip down, no demo, no medic. Death and Destruction, it looked honestly so bad for them. That was such a nice play by Fishkoff on the flank. It's a kill into Jorge. It's an absolute mess at the moment. Looks like maybe Jeevan gets taken down as well. Adelos on the flank. Voxtech, they both win their 1v1s. It's a medic down. Dagger has stickies on mid, but I feel like if you're the Germans, you have to start walking forward now.
Yeah, that was one man with the banner versus an entire team, and Jeevan just didn't quite have enough rockets for it, but a valiant attempt, as the Germans will now have a couple of picks just for a second to maybe make their way onto mid, but they are again looking a little bit slow. They're not really going to take this opportunity, and they could have started heading in through choke if they really wanted to, but at the end of the day, after a very, very messy fight, it was a nice read by Flick and Jeevan to notice that June was caught out there as they do try something into mid, but Philip and Alos going down, so we're looking like a push for death and destruction now.
Yeah, unfortunately, the aggression is just a little bit too late there. As you said, they gave Death and Destruction enough time to set up. So now Death and Destruction with these two picks, the pick onto Philip is absolutely massive. So hard to hold second without a Demo Man. And that was a lot of damage. Both the soldiers get taken down. They haven't even popped the Uber yet. Jorge is only 95%. They have the Demo Man back up alive. But Ray taken down a little bit lower. Gets the Uber charge up now and running. It's damage onto Philip here. The Uber gets forced out of Jevon, and I think, honestly, Death and Destruction, they're just walking back here. They don't want to engage that much. Kite out the Uber, wait for their two soldiers, come back up, and run away with the Uber charge.
For the Germans, they have to start going here. They have to get this Uber out at least so they can maybe, have their own ad to go into second. They're going to be spamming hard on the point. Voxy's playing the cap. Both scouts from cap. In fact, Dagger want to come forward and block this. They're kind of indecisive right now. Dagger's very, very weak. A lot of spam. They might even be getting the cap, as Mathis does put a bit of hurt into Voxy, but they will cap this out, and that's going to be very, very nice for them. They can just grind out this Uber disad and slow it down enough so they'll have even Ubers on last. But Wandum, they do need to start finding ways to get off their own last.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent start, right? But as you said, it's only about 60% for Ray. They could still potentially push off this. The Uber's now coming in on the Death and Destruction. It's a big demo bomb out of Dagger, but it doesn't deal that much damage. The Uber's popped on him, keeping him alive for a really long time. But there we go, the frags finally come through. It's 3 or 4 kills now. It's only Philip left alive, and one pipe onto the point, just not going to do it. 4-0 now for Death and Destruction. Capitalizing off of the advantage. They got that force. They were in the round off of it. Nice stuff out of Mathis.
Yeah, the Germans once again having a lot of space. They had the point. They could have forced George to pop as he went, around that corner, but instead they just give it all up and just leave so much space for the Death and Destruction to walk into, and then they had a very free Uber on last. So once again, Germans, having a nice idea but not following through.
Yeah, unfortunately, it feels like, as you're saying, they're just a little bit too slow a lot of the time. This time around on the mid, they deal a lot of damage to the scouts early on. The soldier bombs come through, but it's a kill onto Philip very early on. But the soldiers, though, onto Jorge, managed to find him. But where's the rest of the team? Ray is out into garage, but he doesn't really have any players with him. There we go. Here's 2 scouts. They're sitting in yard right now. Right now, if you are the red team, they are just trying to get the cap here, trying to get the forward spawn. I would expect them to try to get some sort of play onto the medic, but they just don't have the positioning. They don't have the health. Sitting on mid, waiting for the enemy to just potentially come to them.
Yeah, I think they just want to look for a spam force here, probably. Not sure where Dagger's trap is, but that could be pretty free for them to get that. As Philip does heading through choke, Voxy walking now. Jeevan going to go for the very deep bomb, get some nice damage onto Philip, but he will get taken down quickly by Voxy. Mathis now spamming them, but he is alone. They're going to have to leave. And they need to dodge some pipes and maybe a blind death from Dagger, but that's all they're going to be able to take mid pretty cleanly. They do have ad for second, so they can start getting some momentum back now if they can make this next transition clean.
They're actually popping this Uber here onto Dagger, but a really nice pipe actually bounces the scout. Voxy bounced away, so he can't find the follow-up kill. Now they pop the Uber. They were so keen to get that kill onto Dagger. It would have opened up second for them, but they don't find it. The Uber force out of Dagger was so nice, and now it's actually Jorge. He has the advantage here. A lot of Germans postured here up onto the left side area, but they don't have positioning. They're walking back out now. It's a lot of damage onto the point. They're actually coming right back around. Dagger gets taken down already, and now Jorge has to run back onto second. They're getting delayed so much. It's 2 players down, no Demo Man, and it buys Ray enough time to walk back. No Uber popped, but they should be able to build this. They shouldn't be the end of a round at least. Voxy's still behind. It's not taken down quite yet.
I really didn't like seeing that from the Germans, just having all of their players stacked up in right yard, but nothing to stop the combo coming through left completely for free. As Voxy heading for the back camp here, but he's going to get a couple of players back from... I can't even see where he's gone. I think it's because I'm specking him. There you go. He's making some distraction out back, and that does give a decent opportunity for the Germans now to head back into yard, take some space as Empty does pick up Jeevan on the flank.
Such a nice kill onto Jeevan, onto Ixie as well. There's 2 down now. It's even Ubers, so once again, the Germans now they have to go forward here. There's only 6.5 minutes on the clock. They pretty much have no time. They have to get this round pretty much right now. It's even Ubers. There's still 2 players down. Ixie Jeevan still back, not back left not back up, rather, I should say. But there's a lot of high ground here. Decent damage onto top, but there's just so much damage. Idol's taken down already. It's another pipe onto Voxy, which means that he's just trapped out. 3 players go down for the Germans. And now Death and Destruction. They can just run back the clock. They only need, honestly, like another minute. And they could just win the game off of the timer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the timing there, again, from the Germans, they had the right idea, taking some room on the left, but the soldiers were not ready to go, and so all those players in just got completely spammed out. No extra threat from the soldiers to be seen, and the rest of the Death and Destruction just landed on them in the corner, so that was pretty difficult for them. Uber's going to be traded in yard, and Ixie extremely weak, but he's going to be able to live. They're chilling right now just on the left, trying to head in maybe through Lunchbox. It's not quite clear what the Germans are going to be doing, but they're making some kind of a go of a push on the point here. They're heading in through Lunchbox now. They want to take a fight with the soldiers up top, but it's going to be difficult for them. They're holding the chokes pretty tightly here, Wandum, and with Alos going down, they're going to have to start leaving.
It's so difficult for them to go in, but they have to try something. Once again, the timer is just not in their favor anymore. Only 5 minutes for 4 rounds. It's so hard for them to come back into this. Furio and Jorge both even percentages right now. It shouldn't matter too much, but there's just no picks. I mean, Death and Destruction, they're running down the clock. 5 minutes now for 4 rounds. We're nearing the realms of the Kratos GG, where you just kind of press GG as soon as the round timer permits you to no longer lose. It's so difficult. The Germans have to find a kill. They have to find it now, or 30 seconds ago, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of time where you maybe you want that to be garbage time because it really is over. But the Germans, they do want to make something happen. They want to get some, some pride rounds back on the board. But Amty going down behind, the trade kind of not very successful. Then Roxy dying as well. They're really out of sync with a lot of these players at the moment. And Fishcroft finally dying on the flank as well. They're just going to have to leave. To be honest, this is probably going to be around fairly soon. As Philip does go down, Adelos going to be running out with Ray. Ray not even building. Probably going to die to Dagger unless Dagger beefs. Dagger will claim that frag. Going to get probably taken down by Adelos. But no, in fact,
okay.
They've taken it all the way to mid. They lost 0 players, and that's looking very, very convincing from Death and Destruction here.
That's pretty much the nail in the coffin as well. 4 minutes. It's just not enough time to win the 4 rounds that they need to even force us to a golden cap anymore. They're back on their second already. They're down 70% advantage as well. I mean, Death and Destruction, they're just walking in right now. They're trying to take Lunchbox, it looks like. Decent position. I actually really like the Lunchbox push. I think it's nice. Gives you high ground, trying to go into second. Kill onto Mathis, though, in the beginning. Makes it a little bit harder for Death and Destruction to go in, but there we go. Return kill onto Apti. It means that the Germans have to run back here. There's decent sticky damage on the point. It's just not enough. Okay, there we go. The Uber's popped out. They're not finding that many kills, though. Flick takes the Uber, tries to get the kill into Fishkoff on the flank. They don't get it. They don't even get the cap here. Jeevan's dead as well. Unfortunately, that Uber, a little bit disastrous here. At this point, we're just playing for momentum for the second map, and if you're the Germans, you're just trying to get the enemy team tilted at this point. Make them sad. They
just want 1 round, and it could happen. They could get back into this. This was a very odd force with Voxy and Raiders ran all the way behind, and Lunchbox got the force through Z, and then just ran all the way out again, and didn't manage to get caught somehow. So that was pretty nice by them, as they will be heading into mid. Fishhook going down, Alos as well. Kind of chaos here as they get through a trick very, very messily, to be honest, but they still have the Uber somehow. Voxy's going to take it in on his own, going to try and get George.
Oh, 82%,
no. But he's going to get hard juggled. He will take down Dagger, but now he's going to have no ammo versus Flick. But in fact, he's destroying him. It's fine. It does not matter. Voxy hits all his shots, and he's going to get the frag on Flick as well. Just 2v2 on mid. Better spawners probably for Death and Destruction. Voxy's still going. He's a hero alone. No one with him on his team, but he will finally get taken down.
Jorge was like centimeters off of getting a sore as well. He wasn't healing for most of that. I feel like he was just healing his players instead of running away. He could have probably just gotten the Uber and it would have been fine. Instead he's kind of playing with fire a little bit. Voxy almost had that, the most scout class clip of all time. But we were fortunately saved from disgusting scout classes, just like winning on their own.
I do think that kind of sums up the whole game there. Voxy, going crazy with the heals, but the rest of the players just out of sync and dying, and it didn't really matter how much space Voxy made for them, how many kills he got in the end. When you're 2 versus 6, it's really not going to happen for you.
It's hard, right? I mean, it's just been so weird watching this game, because I feel like the Germans, I mean, I have to be honest, I have to agree with you. They've had so many opportunities to sort of make rounds for themselves, make plays happen, and they just kind of stumbled in on themselves. I feel like they've just taken too long to set up the plays to get this going, to get the sort of ball rolling on their side. They've pushed them. The enemies, I don't even know if they've been on the enemy last, to be honest. Can't remember if they have. They've definitely been pushing into second, but the Death and Destruction have been holding well enough And the Germans, honestly, they've just been too slow. They haven't managed to get in. It's
Yeah, I mean,
not a good look.
they have been on the last, but maybe not in a stalemate, I think. And there was this one time, maybe 3 or 4 minutes ago, where they were peeking into last. Philip was trying to spam the sollies off height, but none of the sollies from the Germans were ready to come in, as we've seen multiple times. And so they just, I think it was Mathis that dropped off the pipe and just landed on the players coming in. And there was very, very little that the Germans could do. So once again, out of sync here, really, and the combo is sort of on Granary. Everything has got to happen in a sort of clockwork dance. One thing goes, then the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. But at the moment, they're out of sync, and the whole thing looks very, very much more like a, I don't know. I don't have a good metaphor for you, Wandum, but it's certainly not a clockwork dance.
No, it's just out of sync. It's like I was gonna think of something. I can't think of something anyway. I had something at the tip of the tongue, and then I realized what it was, and I was like, no, I can't say that. So instead, I mean, this worries me a little bit, Eames, because the next map we are going on, I'm sorry for taking this already, but we've had downtime for 5 minutes. We're just going to take it to the next map already.
It's more modern dance than ballet. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, there is... Yes.
Sorry, carry on.
We're playing Sunshine next, and if there is another map that's really difficult to push into, where you have to be aggressive, you have to be able to push off a sort of smaller advantages, make them bigger than they actually are on paper, it is Sunshine. I feel like if you're the Germans, you're losing the way they are right now, which is just not being in sync, trying to get aggressive, pushing into the enemy. Granary isn't easy, but Sunshine also is not very easy. It might be a little bit easier to sort of take space, get picks onto second, but especially if you're trying to make something out of a last push, it's so hard. Even getting in onto second, onto mid, it can be really difficult. If you're not on sync on Granary, it might be really hard for them to be on sync on Sunshine as well.
Yes, maybe. Although what I would say is that Jeevan main calls for Death and Destruction, whereas Voxy main calls for Wer das liest ist doof.
Yes.
And so that definitely means that Granary is a soldier map, and it's definitely the map where if you can literally put all your heals on your pocket and just make him walk around, and it works pretty well a lot of the time. And he can it's the one map really where you can 1v1 a scout as a pocket, and it will probably work half the time or more. Whereas this is not the case in Granary. So Voxy can do a lot on Sunshine. Sorry, so Voxy can do a lot more on this map, which should favor certainly their style a lot more.
Well, another thing I always look at when we go into Sunshine is, in my head, Sunshine is a very sort of, it's a very combo-centric map in a way that, like, it's really bad for soldiers, but the rest of the combo is a scout and a demo man, and both of those classes on Sunshine are absolutely insane. And I'm sort of looking, I feel like, honestly, another thing we kind of saw is that Dagger kind of demo diffed Philip a little bit, and that worries me going into Sunshine.
Yep, that is a good point. Dagger with a very, very clean game, and he had a lot of fairly easy frags where he just had to pick up June after an Uber and this kind of thing. But he also, had those much better mid fights. You can see the mids 5 in favor of Death and Destruction, which was huge. Partly that Dagger was getting there earlier, partly that the Sollies were bombing earlier. But either way, Philip had absolutely nothing he could do on those mids, and it really showed. So Sunshine is another mid that's it's a pretty difficult one as demo. You really have to hit your early spam and get into position early. So this could be one of the big differences. Is probably the DM capability of Dagger compared to Philip especially on Sunshine.
But also, just if you are a soldier on a map like Sunshine, a lot of your life does come down to how well can you coordinate your bombs, especially on Sunshine middle. It sort of happens in the blink of an eye. Whereas, like, at least recently, we've had the meta where both teams just kind of go into the opponent's choke, rolling out from Flower. But this time, you sort of roll out into Flower, and then you sort of you take the high ground of the opponent's cafe, and then you sort of roll it over into the enemy choke. You sort of wait for your soldiers to get in, get a really good decisive bomb. Mathis and Jeevan did have their opponent's number in Ampty and Fishkoff pretty much every single mid. Now, if the soldier bombs are good, if the demo spam is good as well, it's really hard for it's gonna be hard for the Germans. They're gonna have to find an angle. They're gonna have to step up on an individual level on this map as well.
I think, if I'm honest, before I saw that game, I thought the Germans had a decent chance. I think it'll be probably closer on Sunshine, but I still think they're gonna. This is a Death and Destruction's game, to be honest, because they're just looking pretty damn in sync. And even though it doesn't favor Soldier quite as much, Sunshine, if they have these bombs like they have been doing, and Dagger playing aggressive, they're gonna still have very, very strong mids. And even though Voxy is one man, but I don't think there's not enough that he can do to bring it back from that disadvantage.
But maybe a map change is all they need, right? There is a very real world also in my brain where the Germans sort of take this time out. Maybe the medic substitution is a little bit tilting. They sort of go, they have a pee break, they have a glass of water, they, I don't know, like eat a Kit Kat, something. We're not sponsored. But they take a little bit of a break. They come back, relax, stronger, sort of ready to take on. As you're saying, I mean, Voxy was playing absolutely amazingly in the last map. Definitely the shining star for his team. He doesn't need that much more support, it feels like, especially on Sunshine. He just needs Philip to play like 20% better, and I feel like they can put up a much greater fight against Death and Destruction.
Yeah. I think certainly Philip's job is maybe easier on this. Well, actually, no, I don't think it is. I think Philip has a harder job on this map, which is maybe the problem. The one thing that's going to make it difficult for them. But in terms of everything else, they should have a better chance, probably, because as I said, the Solis aren't quite as dominating. So whereas before on basically every granary mid, if you have a semi-decent Solly bomb that's coordinated, it will always do well. It will always do something. Whereas on Sunshine, it's a much bigger map. So if the scouts aren't in sync, if the demo's not in sync, then your Solis can just feed. So that is kind of the big hope of the Germans in a way. Adelos is a fairly passive flank scout most of the time. So if the soldiers from Death and Destruction just feed into them, then that could be pretty nice.
It's going to be interesting. I wonder how aggressive the soldiers are going to play. We saw Jivan. I mean, he kind of let the Germans come to him for most of the granary game, right? He was very willing to go on the battalions back up. So I think if there's a map where you run battalions, it's usually Sunshine, specifically Sunshine Last. It's very easy to build up battalions. If you just kind of take it and then you sit on top and you sort of spam down into lobby, you can build it up. I wonder how aggressive they're really going to be on this map. I mean, of course, mids are going to be quite aggressive, but the rest of the map, like, bombing into second as a soldier is the most painful thing you could do in TF2 besides play product as a soldier. It's not fun.
Indeed. Yeah, it is hard to say. I think this map is going to be closer, but I'm still going to predict it. We didn't do predictions for the first one, but I still think the Death and Destruction have this. I think they're feeling themselves, so I think I'm going to say like a 3-2 for them, something like that.
I think it depends heavily on how good the Germans manage to sort of mental reset. Maybe also sort of bring Ray up to speed. I think if June was here, I would be a lot more inclined to predict against you and be the guy that says, haha, no, actually the team that's not favored is going to win. I think I have to agree with you. I think Death and Destruction are going to win, and honestly, be a little bit counter. I only think the Germans are going to get, like, maybe they get one round, but the way that they sort of lost the Gully Wash, or the Granary game rather, and they're just like, their slowness and not willing, and like their lack of decisiveness just makes me lean towards them just not being able to ever properly capitalize on an advantage that they would be given on a map like Sunshine. Because, again, like, maybe the soldiers aren't as good, the soldier bombs aren't impactful, but it's a very long map, which means you still just, like, you don't have that much time to get your players in sync, get ready to go aggressive, just because you have to run for a longer distance.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that feeds into that really is, they don't have Shocky today. They have Adelos instead. Adelos traditionally is a pocket scout player who, he's very, very good at playing passive on the beam, but aggressive flank scout not so much. That's not generally his style. So whereas Shocky, that's what he loves to do. He loves to make space. Loves to just sort of run in behind, and so generally that means they're not going to be capitalizing on as many of these opportunities. Not going to be playing as aggressively and really putting the hurt on Death and Destruction, I think, and that's probably harming them as well, because that really was a source of a lot of opportunities for them before when I watched them playing with Shocky.
Maybe so. I mean, yeah, I honestly didn't even realize that. I even set that roster. I completely forgot that Shocky is supposed to be here. But, I mean, yeah, as you're saying, that might be the difference. I can imagine that if he's sort of the instigator on the flank, there's a lot of moments on Granary where I'd imagine that it'd be completely different, right? If Shocky does instigate all of the flank shenanigans, they just don't have him. They don't have that player to make the space. They waiting for Adelos to do it. He's just not willing to. It can be really hard. I think once again we're back. Circled back around to Death and Destruction are going to win.
Yeah, but I think no, that's true, and especially on Granary, the flank scout role is actually very important. There are a lot of situations where we can go for back caps, we can get in behind. You're really the spare player that no one's looking at, and you could just be killing sollies randomly and this kind of thing. So but what you really don't need is another scout in the combo, because you don't even really need the first scout very much in the combo. So that's kind of something they were really missing, I think. I mean, Alos was trying to make some stuff happening, on the flank, but most of the time he was getting picked out pretty early, I think, and not really doing too much.
Yeah, it's hard. Also, just like I can imagine the step up to suddenly be told to play a role that you're not comfortable in, but then also be like, oh yeah, but you have to play against one of the 4 best teams in Prem. So like, not only do you have to do it, but you also have to perform at a really high level. I'm seeing a Bobby Basketball coming in on Medic instead for map number 2 on Sunshine for the Germans here, which I don't want to be that guy. I think it's a little bit of an upgrade.
I don't really know anything about Ray, but I'm going to assume it is because Bobby has played Prem before. So this could be, a ray of sunshine, a ray of light for the Germans who, it's always going to be really annoying to lose your med halfway through a map and just be like, oh, well, I guess we're losing 2 down. We're 2 down and our med's gone and we're losing mids. So what do we do? And just be kind of depressed. So this could change things around for them.
I mean, Bobby definitely has the Premiership experience. He's been around for a while. I don't actually think he's played. I think he played 1 season in Prem, and then he just kind of hangs out in pugs and stuff. But he's quite good at the game. He has very nice mechanics. And, if you do not know the legend of Bobby Basketball, there's a very old Truck clip you should watch. Bobby Basketball, 1999.
Oh yeah,
he's transcended the Huntsman and become a medic main. Very cool guy.
He's a perfect player.
He is a very perfect player. He's a perfect human as well. Bobby Basketball, I don't know if you guys have seen him. He's an absolute hunk.
Is he really?
He's a beautiful boy. It's a beautiful man, maybe. I don't know. He's a very attractive male.
Well, let's hope
we're readying up now.
Let's hope he's a beautiful boy and medic as we are heading to our first mid, Wandum. Do you want to take it?
Sure. Once again, this is map 2 this time of season 41 of ETF2L week 5. We've got Death and Destruction. We've got the Germans. I almost said the long name. I refrained. We are on map 2 here. Sunshine. Granary did go the way of Death and Destruction quite handedly. June timed out halfway through, and now there we go, 3rd medic for the German of the game. So far, decent aggressive here to kill, traded Flick for Fishkoff as decent damage, traded across. Neither team really has that much high ground, sort of fishing around. There we go, it's 1 soldier, but he immediately drops down, but he gets the kill onto Philip, which means that now the Germans, they've managed to somehow sort of stuff Death and Destruction into a corner, but they've sort of traded choke points once again. It's a soldier on the high ground who's sort of raining down damage. The demo doing a lot of work as well. It's a counter soldier bomb coming in. Doesn't do that much damage. Death and Destruction, they have no high ground pretty much this whole time. The Uber gets traded now. Both teams really not getting an edge so far, but once this post super comes out, it's going to be difficult for Death and Destruction. There we go. They're rotating back into their own choke as the mid-fight round 2 has started. Decent damage for the soldiers on top, but it's Jevon and Apti both getting traded now. Demo Men doing a lot of damage. The blue health is atrocious. It's 2 soldiers down, and I think maybe finally this might be the end of it. Death and Destruction, no soldiers for the blue side, and they managed to take the mid here.
Yeah, an absolute marathon mid-fight there. It was looking pretty decent for the Germans for the refight there, as the Death and Destruction had to really leave that corner as the spawners were going to come in and crunch them. But just exchanging damage not particularly well in that refight, as Fishkoff did die from a very nice sticky snipe from Dagger. And so yeah, what looked like it could have been a bit of a precarious mid there from Death and Destruction is actually headed to be just about, after a very long time, in their favor.
There is a Jeevan up on a banner, as per expected at this point. So he's gonna try to build this up. It's even Ubers, right? So both teams are just gonna sit back, relax. It makes sense that Jeevan is going to try to build up a banner. Is honestly, I think building up a banner on any part of Sunshine is gonna be hard. It's probably second, right? There's not that many spam angles you can take as a soldier without immediately being in danger of losing your life. Like, where does he realistically peek from? I guess this cafe area? It's still a little bit dangerous.
You can get some spam from here. He will get bombed on. In fact, he'll go down. It's a really nice double 2 picks from Voxy onto the combo there. So really, you know, putting his stamp on this game. Attack is going to be looking to hold the choke, but it's going to be quite risky for him. Empty heading in from Cafe could try and play for the force right now. Just going to be spamming at this point. Philip looks like he's edging in. He will take a massive sticky trap from Dagger, but he won't go down. There is an opportunity now for them to do something, but once again the flank looking really, really slow to get in. Fishkov only now maybe going for a bomb onto Dagger. Dagger will pick up Boxy again, and Dagger just absolutely locking down these chokes. He got the trap kill. They will now get forced finally by that very late aggression from the flank is going to be, well, it's going to be very, very not really paying off for them, because now the spawners are in and they can take second very, very easily. Death and Destruction, and Bobby, Adelos, and Philip just all the way back to last.
They're back onto last, but they have the Uber advantage here. They have to pop it into Sunshine second, though, from their last. Not the easiest thing in the world, especially if Jorge sort of plays a little bit back. You can very easily sort of take a rocket, surf it all the way into Cafe, and be all the way out there. Or you can just walk back to Cafe. You can see they're building up now. 60% already. The Germans, they pop an Uber out in through Dungeon. They manage to find a single kill into Jevon, but the sticky bombs out of Dagger do a lot of work, sort of delaying them, and now Jorge... Oh, okay, never mind. Dagger almost goes down, gets juggled a little bit, but he manages to survive. Now this is really bad for the Germans. They're down massive Uber charge disadvantage here as well. Jorge already has the Uber charge. Yes, they don't have Jevon, but they can sort of slowly start edging us towards any of the 3 pushing angles they have into second here.
Any of the doors, which one will they choose? They're going to be heading through Cafe. No soldier with them, so both solids playing. Actually, Jevon is just rolling out. So they're going to be heading through. No traps are up here, just empty to spam it from close. But Fishkov will jump in behind onto Dagger, get some good damage, but he goes a bit too early. The med was not even within sight there, but he is able just about to get. No, he doesn't get arrowed. That's tragic. So Fishkov dying on the flank, and they're just going to have to leave all the way, and that aggression was just too early. George hadn't come through the choker point at all, so you know Fishkov was just taking a spam fight with a demo, got very weak, goes down, and now the Germans back on last.
But crucially, they managed to stay alive for long enough to get the Uber right. It's a big bomb out of Jevon. They managed to find a frag there onto Empty on the flank, but it's even Ubers, so losing a soldier on either side isn't really the end of the world. Sentry gun being set up as well. This time around, they're back on last here. Jevon. Oh, it's a nice little kill onto Fishkov there. Gets a little bit too aggressive. Dagger finds a kill, but that sentry gun completely denies Mathis from doing anything. But he finds the frag, actually. They're 2 down now. Look at the aggression now from Death and Destruction. They're coming in.
Yeah, you can tell Dagger really feeling himself here. Just taking so many spam fights in these stalemates, getting trap kills all the time, as Jevon does. Mathis does head and get a nice rocket onto Voxy. He could go down here, but he's not supported. Will get arrowed, and in fact, nothing really happening off that sack. Maybe should have gone for the med if he wasn't going to be supported at all. But Mathis maybe a little baited by his team there, but that's alright. They're going to be heading outside of lobby and chilling. Will the Germans be looking to do anything here? Doesn't look very likely. They are all posturing up in lobby, no sentry at the moment, so they look like they want to maybe send a sack, but it's not, you know, it's not the best situation for it. Ayla's trying to take a fight with Jevon, but he's just going to have to leave. Gives him about 60 damage for his banner, and we are back in a stalemate.
Yep, this time around, both teams kind of sitting back. There's a banner, as you mentioned. Sentry gun being constructed by Voxy. So, on Sunshine, if you are trying to break this last hold, what do you do?
Well, there are many things you can do. I think one, at the moment, that would be a great idea is to, you see this, well, the sentry isn't even up, so now they can just sack players as much as they like. But yeah, it's a level 1, trying to go back up, but as we do see Mathis go in and get 1 rocket onto the med, and he will drop him! Huge from Mathis, even getting the final rocket onto the NG, so that was very, very nice. Bobby surfed onto some stairs, so, you know, it was an ambitious milk, if I'm honest, but, you know, worth trying, as they will be popping straight in through top right. Dagger's going to be jumping deep, won't quite catch Voxy, that's not great by him, but decent Uber, and nonetheless, they're going to be heading all the way over point, getting onto Adelos. Adelos very weak, Dagger going to get bombed on, and in fact, Philip gets a random trap kill on Dagger, so this could be a decent hold now, as, yeah, they popped in really on nothing. There was nothing to force them on the door, so they needed to get a pick off that Uber, and they didn't. And so, you know, they spent the whole time just chasing people around who were nowhere near them, and then they got punished for it.
No Demo Man alive means that they're just going to come right into second here. There's not really that much Death and Destruction can do. They're not willing to take this fight. Decent damage onto Philip. Flick getting a little bit adventurous, but he's going to have to walk back now. As Mathis and Jevon go in, and they do so much damage. They find the kill onto Bobby, which means that, yes, the point might get capped off, but they can come right back in. Never mind. It looks like they're actually, maybe Dagger tries to go aggressive. Honestly, there looks like a little bit of indecisiveness. Maybe they wanted just to let the Germans come for them. Now they're back off into Flower. The kill to Jorge is nice. He's 90%.
That is the flip side we see of Dagger's aggression, just kind of feeding there onto that, onto second with the med pick already happening, but now they're going to have to leave mid, but they're coming back in now with the Uber at George, very, very going to get forced. Nice, really nice bump from Fishkop to get that on his own, and the Germans heading back to second. They are quite weak for this refight, but they could take it, but they could also go for a back cover if they're feeling risky. Will Adelos go for this?
Maybe. There's a kill onto Jevon. Ixie guying as well means that only Voxtech gets taken down from his team. It's a little bit strange right now. There's actually a flick onto the point. There's so much damage, but now with Dagger dead, there's no high ground here for the Germans, but it's enough. The Demo Man on the point, Philip, manages to just drag them away. Now Jorge, it's even Ubers finally flick Mathis up. The Germans, they're getting into choke here. It seems like they're looking to be a little bit more aggressive this time around as they're walking through choke. Spam being exchanged. One soldier in Cafe. They're going to have to watch out because the soldier bombs are coming in onto the high ground now. They're jumping forwards. No rockets really connecting, but it's enough to force the Germans back onto their own second.
Yeah, it was ambitious from the Germans to head into mid. I like the idea, but they did just recognize that Death and Destruction did have a decent spawn wave coming in, so they had to leave, and also they were 20% behind on the Ubers. So just going to be a reset here, I think, which is time for the Germans to catch their breath really. But that was a decent refight on second. They could have gone very wrong. They were one down for a little while, but Jeevan got cleaned up very, very quickly. Dagger sort of fed on Patio onto Philip, and they reclaimed their second. So the Germans not looking too out of their depth in this map at the moment, when they're holding their own.
Yeah, it's looking so much better. You have to wonder what actually happened. It's so hard for us to know, right? Because we're not in the comms. But something definitely is going so much better for them this time around. They are back on their own second, but they haven't lost a round yet. They've been bringing the fight. They've been willing to be aggressive, which we just saw a little bit of a lack of on Granary. It's a nice change of pace. Jorge now posturing around Cafe, looking to maybe get some action done, but the decent spam coming out of the Germans means that the Destruction might have to find a different angle. So far, the Germans, it's really hard to push into mid here. They're going to have to kind of wait for Death and Destruction to do something, but the damage onto Bobby, the bomb just comes in out of Jeevan, forces him out. With no Uber for Bobby now, means that the Germans, they're on the back foot once all of a sudden.
And I have to say, I don't know if we got that on camera, but that was an amazing skip jump from Jeevan all the way onto Bobby, gets it direct, and then the second rocket to force him out there. Bobby not looking to drop a second Uber, but that was really, really clean jump from Jeevan to get all the way in onto the med with such a surprise play, and I've really never seen a bomb like that before. It was really very well played by Jeevan.
This gives his team such a massive advantage. They're sitting in Cafe already. Scout just kind of building. Scouts them out early. Decent damage here, but it's not enough. The Germans, they want to try and get a force. Pretty much now, there's a soldier in. Decent damage onto Dagger, and actually going to force them to kill onto Mathis in the meantime, which means now Death and Destruction, they're onto second. They got the Uber out. Fortunately, not enough. Bobby has advantage here. That force was absolutely essential for the Germans.
Yeah, it's nice, and they got that pick on the flank as well, so they're not going to get rolled to last. Certainly, they can start coming back in. What door will they choose? Dagger has only very, very passive traps, so that they can just walk in for free bottom left. Fishrock taking in now. Nothing really looking at them at all. Jeevan is sitting in basement, going to be leaving. And in fact, there's looking like a fairly free point take if they can just not take too much spam as they head up to Patio here.
Dagger doing his best with his pipes. Deals a lot of damage. Bobby taken down below 100 HP, so he's just going to have to pop the Uber off. Gets a little bit worried now because of that. Yes, it's a kill into Jevon. Yes, they've got the second point, but Jorge now back once again, 80% Uber charge. You see the Germans, they are playing it. They look to play quite passively, at least a little bit. Philip getting aggressive into choke. They want to get a medic kill. They want to get a force hit, but Fishkopf just finds two scouts as the Germans, they push Flower.
Oh, that was a very, very off timing from Fish. He should have been going for the force much, much later. Again, he's kind of not recognizing when the med is coming in and when it's it's just still transition. But so once again, we had the back and forth over a second, for multiple recycles. But then Fishkopf just completely messing up his force play. And as we do see, they're taking it into last, and Adelos will go down to Dagger. So it's really, really nicely played. But only 95% for Bobby, and they're going to come in and block the point, and they will. Uber's popped out. Flicking the die top left, but they might even head back in left here, Wandum?
Maybe. It looks like they're actually just going to back out for now. I mean, it's 2 players down for both teams, right? But the spawners come out. Jevon on the spy, just kind of checking out off classes, making sure that everyone's on the classes they're supposed to be. The NG should have been spotted, I'm pretty sure. But, I mean, yeah, that was a weird fight. I feel like, honestly, they could have got it, but that was a really nice bomb by Empty in the background, taking up a kill onto the soldier, meant that a little bit of the aggression was kind of stunted for the Germans. The kills quite come out in time. It's basically even Uber. Javen actually is on the spy with Flick on Sniper as well. Makes this interesting for Death and Destruction.
Yeah, and particularly strange, that you have both of the combo players off-classing. So this is how you know they're a pug team, really. They're very very fast and loose with this kind of thing. So it's not great when both of your main callers are off-classing. But we'll see what they elect to do. Going to be heading in with Flick through left right now, trying to get an angle onto someone as Steven is posturing up. Probably going to be looking to decloak onto Bobby, but it's just, it's they're creeping up right now, Wandum.
Yeah, just kind of scouting out the situation. Citrigan taken down by Mathis, actually. Makes it a lot easier for Jevon to go for a play. He's walking around, but there we go. He actually gets spotted out. Just goes for a face stab instead. The Uber's traded out. Coming into lower here. Uber traded now for both teams. Jorge has to flash the sniper. Flick trying to get out. Now they're essentially 2 down, right? They lost the spy. The sniper is staring at a choke point. Like, shutters. They can't really do much. As the Germans, they should be looking to aggress, but there's a kill into Empty already. Death and Destruction. They're trying to hold this so far. Looking decent. Bomb in, it's a lot of damage here, but they just aren't finding the frags. It's 4 down now. The Germans, they tried to go in, and unfortunately, they did not find anything.
Yeah, I like the idea from Voxy to take the trade into lobby, but once, they had been able to reset, it was just not happening, as we do see Death and Destruction coming through left side off this terrible blunder, really, from the Germans, and that's just going to be a round. But, yeah, it was just overly ambitious. Voxy was running in on his own, deep, basically behind the whole team, calling his soldiers in, but that time, usually, sometimes Voxy's getting baited, but this time I think he was just overeager.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, especially in the post-Uber, where are they realistically going to go, right? I mean, they tried to get into second, they just completely mulch because you're all just walking through shutters like that. So difficult. Now on the mid this time around. Germans are down 1 round so far. It's only 1-0 for Death and Destruction. It's a lot better than where they were 16 minutes into the Granary game. Down a medic so far, but there's a little bit of aggression. Jeevan actually gets taken down there by Fishkoff on the flank. It's a fight on multiple angles here. The Germans, they're taking the aggression forwards. They're finding a kill into Dagger. Multi-split situation once again, but it's a kills with Death and Destruction. Germans, they got split all over the place. It's a kill into Philip. They tried to get aggression onto Jorge. It's just not enough. And now Bobby, he's with a scout only. They have to run away.
Yeah, that is an absolute tragedy of a mid-Wandum. I mean, it was the 6v5. As we do see Voxy taking out Flex, so they're going to have to go back all the way out to mid. But just going back to that mid, it was 6v5 for the Germans. They just had to take a slow fight, spam them off high ground, and just make them leave. But instead, they committed way too early. Amty just bombing the low ground onto the med before the scouts were off high and just getting completely destroyed. And so even their aggression was so eager, even though they were 6v5, that it just got completely stuffed.
Aggression coming out now. They're trying to get into second, or into mid rather, do decent damage here. There's soldier bombs coming across. Empty tries to do some damage, actually ends up living somehow, sort of bombing through Flower there, I assume. Both soldiers get out alive, even Ubers still, as neither team are really finding an edge. Now it's even Ubers once again. They're on second. We've been here before. Question is, how are they going to try to break it this time? Looks like maybe Death and Destruction. They're tilting towards Flower.
Yeah, maybe they could go for one of those crazy double solly bombs, one from Flower, one from Choke, maybe one fakes. Jeevan's already used up his cafe sack, which by the way was very, very impressive. Unless it's possible he got like juggled and it was really lucky, but I think it was a beautiful skip jump of a kind. So that's nice to see people innovating even on these age-old maps as they are heading in through Flowers at the moment. Going to try and take a bit of a spam fight. Dagger very, very aggressive as Steven does go in, gets one, 2 rockets onto Bobby. I thought that was going to be a bit of a pussy pop. In fact, he does get the second one off, so it's nicely done by Bobby. But, Jeevan just getting in way too freely there. The scouts just not seeing him. And once again, it was the spam, I think, from Dagger, which really, made both of the scouts just look at Flower. And the Germans were under so much pressure that they just, let Jeevan slip through the cracks.
It was really nice, honestly, because the whole German team, they were just looking at Dagger in Flower, trying to get some frags. He did some early damage early on as well. The sticky bombs forced Bobby back straight into Jeevan's face. And that means that now Jorge's at 100%. The Germans are trying to set up on last hit, but it's going to be a little bit difficult. Death and Destruction. This is their round to win so far. And they're walking into lower already. Decent damage coming across Fishkoff. Almost takes down Jeevan, but it's just not enough. The sentry gun's taken down. There's no point presence for the Germans. And it's another round on the board. 2-0 now for Death and Destruction.
Yeah, a very weak hold there from the Germans, really. Fish is getting completely caught out, not expecting that under Uber at all, and I think there weren't really very many Sikis on point either, so they just played it quickly and won out. But, we're seeing multiple times now in these spam fights, the Germans maybe even have an advantage, but it doesn't really matter because they're just not doing enough damage, and that really is coming down to the demo difference between these teams.
Yeah, Dagger so far has been performing pretty well. We're back on mid here. Last time around, it was a little bit faster. It was still very early aggression being traded here. Soldier bombs into enemy flower. Takes a fight with Fishkoff here, who does his best to sort of draw back Jeevan. Down quite low, just going to get healed up once again. Soldier bombs now coming across. Flick is getting traded with Fishkoff here. Decent early picks, but look at the dagger spam onto the German side. The HP is pretty much zero. So hard for them to play the game, and now with the demo man down, it's just 2 scouts and a medic. And the Germans, they have no business on the mid fight anymore.
Yeah, some inconclusive bombs there, really pretty scrappy. As Voxy, in fact, will try and take it back in through flowers.
Oh?
He's coming in for some kind of trade. He does get the force onto Dagger, and they're going to flash a little bit, but there's 2 scouts in there, so they're just going to have to leave again. So this is kind of pointless play, honestly. Alos will go down. Voxy's going to get a pick, but maybe going down to Ixie as well, so that's just 2 scouts for 1 roamer. Not really worth it at all, and I don't really know what they were going for. They were never going to be followed up by anyone on their team because they were all spawners. So this was really, you know, not really worth going for, in my view, at all.
It's also a pick advantage here for Death and Destruction as well. You can see they're just looking to come through Cafe. A nice rocket out of Jeevan there. Gets a kill onto Ampty. Fishkoff going down as well.
Oh,
Jeevan's running around playing Minecraft. Gets the kill onto Philip. Bobby finds a single statue kill onto Jeevan, but he lived for way too long there.
Yeah, Jeevan just putting Philip well and truly in the sad zone. That was absolutely horrible to see. I mean, you know, sometimes you get a bit flustered when there's a soldier running at you as a demo, but you just got to whip out your melee and you know, give him the business. But Philip, you know, not able to defend himself in that fight and kind of being made a fool of by Jeevan's just crazy skill stick aggression.
Very nice stuff out of them. They have a giant Uber advantage as well. The sentry guns just moved. They have to be careful here. Death and Destruction, they're coming through low once again. Uber's popped out. Sentry gun is just going to get taken down pretty much immediately. The engineer swaps and spawn. Kill onto Fishkoff here, but there's still stickies on the point. The heavy's out really, really late, but he's just not on the point. All it needs is 1 red member to touch the point. There we go. They find the frags. Just managed to get in and get the round closed. So there we go, 3-0. The Germans, they're holding on so well, but now the momentum is firmly in Death and Destruction's favor.
Yeah, it's looking to me like the dam has burst, Wandum, and yeah, I mean, really, I think the Death and Destruction have worked out what they have to do, and they have to take spam fights, and it's working very, very well, to be honest. So they just blob up, put the heals on Dagger, and more or less win. So we'll see what, you know, maybe Germans will have some kind of adaptation for this mid, but all the Death and Destruction doing is playing passive and waiting to win the fight.
This time around, early damage coming in onto Bobby, but he's all the way out in Flower, actually. He doesn't get taken down. It's still into Ampty and Fishkoff, however, which means no soldiers for the blue team. They're going to walk out. It's going to be a Death and Destruction mid once again.
Yeah, and the Germans here just don't really have much of a win condition for these fights. I mean, Fishkoff needed to get that pick onto George, but he was solo bombing a med, so that was never really going to happen. But they kind of know that there's no chance of them bombing the scouts or taking a kind of, you know, aggressive GM fight into them because, you know, they just don't really have the spam backing them up in these situations. As Flick will go down at kind of an aggressive push through Cafe there. Jeevan getting onto Philip will get traded as well, so now it's 2 for 1, and maybe the Germans can make something back onto mid.
Maybe indeed. I mean, but they're still down a demo without Philip. It's going to be hard to sort of win the war of attrition. They pretty much have to commit immediately. They're onto Jorge, and he just gets the Uber trade. And now in this post-Uber, you can see, I mean, Dagger, he's out of the fight, and the Germans are out of mid all the way back in. Oh, they're sort of standing in choke. Voxtech wants to go in here, but it's going to be pretty difficult. Sicky's cleared now. Decent damage onto Dagger, actually. There's a lot of aggression, but Fishkoff gets taken down off the point. Mathers gets taken down, but it's just not enough because now Voxy's dead. Decent damage coming in onto Bobby, but he's out of mid. Jorge actually gets taken down by MT. Somehow manages to find that kill in the backline. That's huge for the Germans.
Nice late pick, but they will still have to give up second. Philip, no traps up to deter anyone really other than in lobby, so it's going to be, well, they will be able to retake second here if they play properly. You know, we're probably walking in through bottom left, but once again on mid, what we saw was the Germans just kind of out of sync. The Ampty, I think, wanted to sack to get the force onto George, but at the same time, Voxy came in and went for a trade, so it's completely worthless, really, what they did, and you know, caught in two minds and just losing the fight overall. But they did manage to get that salvage pick onto George.
This time around, though, it's a kill onto Dagger and Jeevan. Looking pretty decent, actually. Jorge so low in Cafe. He is 1 HP. Somehow he lives as he just gets out. That was so much damage dealt by Fishkoff. That's a very sad moment for the Germans. That was so close to being a Jorge kill, but they still got the dagger kill. Yes, he does have heals, and he's back on mid. The Germans, they still want to aggress. They pretty much have to aggress. Only 8 minutes left on the clock. They're 3 rounds down. They have to go forwards. But Boxy, once again, he's the man in front, and the rest of his team is just not quite there to support him. They're walking in onto mid now. They have 100%. The enemy team, they're sitting at about 80. They have to find some frags. They have to find them soon. Unfortunately, however, the health is falling down for the Germans. They're not finding the frags they want to. Instead, they're the ones getting fragged. They've lost 2 now. Fishkov A lost dead already. Dagger just bombs forwards onto Flower. Deals a lot of damage here. Might actually get taken down. There we go. It's a kill from Voxy onto him, but is it really enough? Death and Destruction, they're in onto the second now. Kills onto Ixie. The Uber's popped out of Bobby, not out of Jorge, though. He could cheek this up for so long. Philip now, he's trying to get out with his medic. They have to escort Bobby back, but he's caught. He's getting out finally.
This is a decent fight for them if they can get back in, but no one wants to do it. Philip finally coming in through the shutter, but they will let them cap. And once again, the Germans are just so passive without Voxy. Voxy is urging them all to get in, bringing so many players back, but the Germans are so slow to support their main cooler and star player as they will finally get onto the cap, but now 1 down. It's going to be fairly easy for Death and Destruction to come back in. And the Soldiers just making some bombs. Fishkov will go deep. Mathis and Jeevan actually both go down, so a bit too aggro from both of them. And in fact, now the Germans finally with a decent second hold, which they committed to, they're going to be able to take this into mid.
Now we're going to take it into mid. Doing it fairly slowly and sort of walking towards flowers and such, but there's a scout on the high ground, which is terrifying. If you've ever played TF2 before, you don't like that. There we go. They're finally down. Soldier finally onto the bell tower as well, but they've given them time. Honestly, Death and Destruction now. They're going to have their soldiers back soon. It's a lot of spam here onto Jorge. But you can see how eager they are to have a fight. They know they have their advantage. They have to be careful. They can't let Jorge fall down too low. But the soldier aggression does so much. Jeevan fobs him so far back, and he finds the kill onto Bobby as well. Idolos, empty, gonna get taken down. It's so difficult for the Germans now. They're so weak. They didn't find anything they wanted to on mid. They got in, but then they all just died. It collapses for them. Yeah. 6 minutes now, 3 rounds. They have a mountain to climb. They're going to have to start walking soon.
It's going to be really tough for them. Bobby, they're tragically dying 95%, I think it was. And really, the Germans, again, having a decent start into mid, but they just didn't hold the high ground at all. So the Soldiers were just bombing onto players. Bobby should have been safe there, and they should have been pushing George out. But as it was, they were the ones who were passive. They were the ones who were on the back foot, and the Soldiers landing that last-ditch rocket to clean up Bobby just before he got Uber. So in what was already a losing push for them.
I mean, so far, you can see they just popped the Uber out onto the point. There's so much cap time already. They found so many kills as well. It's a heavy onto the point now, but this should be able to just spam him out. Soldier there as well. Second soldier actually comes up. It's killing to Jevin. Maybe they can hold this. It's still 2 soldiers, but they're doing a lot of damage. Finding and counter Dagger, but the scout just has to stand on point for a second. And there we go. It's another round on the board. 5 minutes for 4 rounds.
Very easy for Ixie there at the end, just cleaning up those soldiers. As you know, Bobby shouldn't really be dying to the Uber in this kind of push, but it was a very nicely executed bomb from Dagger. And yeah, once again, I mean, we're seeing the Germans, they're getting punished for these big fights that they're just kind of losing. And the theme that we've seen across all of them really is they're not committing to taking the space that they actually do have, but they kind of just they take it and then they give it up. And you know, you kind of hate to see it, Wandum.
It feels like they're taking the first step and then immediately falling on their feet this moment they take that first step. They sort of initiate the dance, but then they fall flat on their faces. This time around, though, a lot of damage. Philip, I mean, Apti gets absolutely demolished by Mathis. But we'll take it in stride because they managed to get the kill onto Dagger. And I'm pretty sure that is the most important frag that you could get. Dagger's been running a train on them so far. That kill pretty much won them the mid on their own.
That was a beautiful Roma special, 2 soldiers airshotting each other in the skybox. I hope we caught that on stream because that was amazing. But yeah, the Germans just heading in through left side, trying to get some spam off, but Philip gonna poke his toe in and then just leave. And once again, I mean, this is just a small example of it, but you know, he's walking in. I don't know who he's spamming for. I don't know, you know, he walked in himself, but none of his slaves were ready to go, so it was just completely worthless. But you know, I think this is the Germans' problem. They don't understand like who is the cutting edge of their team. What matters in this play? And at the moment, well, currently they want to get Soldier in. Whilst they will actually be trading in through top right. Going to be, well, it was slightly worse than Jeevan taking it very deep. Going to get a lot of spam down for his banner as the Germans are going to be flooding in through right side now. The Dagger doesn't have it completely trapped up. He's probably going to get a pick. He just needs to watch the trap properly. Even stuffing them in the door as well. Fishkov will go down, completely baited there basically. And yeah, it's another very, very difficult push for the Germans. But well, as I was saying, basically they're struggling really to coordinate these things at the same time. As we even saw in that push, Fishkov in on the heavy, but no one else in this team is in. So the Germans, they just really need to work on their coordination and getting people in at the right time.
I mean, it's definitely, as you're saying, there's work to be done. I think my main takeaway from this is, like, Death and Destruction, they seem to be pretty solid. I mean, you compare the strength of schedule, and the Germans have definitely had to play the tougher team so far, but Death and Destruction are coming out firmly ahead. The aggression seems to be there, and it seems to be working for them. It makes me excited for what they might do in the future against sort of the higher level teams. Jevon got kind of rolled by Philip, gonna be honest. But I mean, just looking into the future, they're gonna have to play some of the top teams. They haven't played Witness Gaming, they haven't played the Backyard Bullies. But if you have to play against them, I mean, it is absolutely essential you have the aggression sorted.
Yeah, definitely. As they will be taking a Massus, maybe taking the Uber in, but in fact, they're going to just head back to Lost. George is going to BM pop on his own for the logs, which is, well, he could get punished for this because they will, maybe, well, they probably don't know about it though, but, they might be heading in for a trade. Well, they think it's a trade, but it's actually ad. So, hopefully the Germans win a round off of this, but George just, it is 4-0, so it is, technically garbage time. So he's padding his stats.
That's the Cod Dog special. Doesn't matter. It's not a disad if they don't know it. Don't know it is. Shout out to Cod Dog. I believe legendary player for multiple seasons. The legendary accidentally right-clicking on last. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen in TF2. There we go. The Uber's actually coming out now, so maybe it might pay off for them. It gets run straight across the point, and Sentry Gun taken down, but there's no further frags found. This scout has finally managed to find a kill onto Flick, but there's just still a heavy alive. There's still a demo alive, and the Germans, yes, they managed to take the Uber in, but there we go. Jorge just has Uber again, and he won't even need it because Philip is dead.
They don't know it's ad, so they're just, they don't know it's not ad, but they're leaving anyway. But I think this kind of exemplifies their play, really, because there wasn't actually anything to make them leave. The Uber wasn't there. They could have stayed in. They had a lot of space, but they just leave anyway. They made the room off. They had a whole Uber to make room, and nothing made them leave, really. They just left off their own accord.
Yeah, it seems... There's so many situations where I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for Fish and Empty to take some high ground, make some room for their team. And they just don't do it. And it's like, it's so weird because every bone in my body is telling me that is the play that they should make. Instead, it just never quite occurs. Or if it happens, it just happens too late. They get matched by their opponents and it's just not enough. The Uber gets traded. It's 30 seconds left. This is the most dead time we've ever seen. It's Philip taking down my Mathis as well. At this point, I want a skybox. I want something big. It's GG's exchange in the chat. Give me something. Give me a moment for the fans.
Flick trying to make something happen here. Voxy, maybe he's going for the back cab, but there is a heavy, so not going to happen. And yep, well, this was I think it was because of the pause. It felt like a very long game. I wish we had to monologue our way through, which was very entertaining. But 4-0, 4-0, very, very convincing, really, from Death and Destruction. Just much stronger in all ways. But most importantly, it was the extended DM fights. They took positioning, they spammed people out. They recognized, they were able to work off their demo's damage. Who would spam people, hit them for 50s and 60s stickies, and then take room off it. And this is what they were doing. And this is not really what the Germans were doing. So that's probably the biggest difference. Just taking that positioning between the teams.
And that makes me wonder, right? I was talking a little bit about this earlier. If you are Death and Destruction now, and you haven't sort of played these top teams yet, they're still, what are they playing next week? They're playing against, literally the remaining two games that they have, Witness Gaming and Backyard Bullies. And I'm sort of looking, if this is the way that Death and Destruction are going to win games, they play off of Dagger, I wonder how well he can match up against Lucas and who's even playing demo for Backyard Bullies? It's Nasboy. How well he sort of matches up against those two respectively becomes very interesting.
Yes. Well, I mean, he has a good DM, but he wasn't really. He had nothing very difficult to do in these games because, I mean, you can saw him get caught out one time when he really shouldn't have. But all he has to do in these games is just hit the shots, and he's going to win because he's got better DM than Philip, pretty much. But he's going to be under much more pressure in those other games, and I expect he'll be making a lot more mistakes against those teams. So, Lucas probably more so than Nasboy, but both of them are, they've got better reads on the game overall, and really know what their role is, know when to not get caught in, know when they can make a play, all this kind of thing. Whereas Dagger is more of a, he's much newer than both of those players, so he's more of a DM player at the moment.
I'm excited to see what happens. Obviously, those games will be coming up. I feel like, honestly, because of that pause, there's really not that much to say. I took a look at the logs and had big damage numbers, and that was kind of it. And at that point, I'm like, I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, it's very sort of, it was a 4-0 Sunshine game where not a lot happened besides Demo Man shot a choke point. But yeah, I mean, unless you have something to add, Eames, I'm pretty sure.
I don't. I need to go and get food, man.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it from us. Stay tuned tomorrow, I'm pretty sure, actually. There's going to be more games because today's a Wednesday. Yes, tomorrow we'll have another game. Maybe we won't, actually. Maybe it got cancelled. It might have been a Yak team. But we'll see. The game tomorrow, maybe, on TFTV. That's it from us. Good night.